Writers present information in various ways, such as in an informative writing or argumentative writing form. Basis of information written on articles may vary. Such facts may be gathered from different sources, such as eyewitness accounts, one-on-one interviews, and online, among others.
Public demand for education has remained strong, reflecting the importance of education as a means of social progress. Aware of the added value of education to the world of work, the government continues to innovate and update the education system in order to produce a qualified and competent workforce.
Internal combustion engine enables the driver to decide which source of power is appropriate for the travel requirements of a given journey. Major U.S. auto manufacturers are now developing feasible hybrid electric vehicles, and some are exploring fuel cell technology for their electric cars.
The climate for doing business improved in Egypt more than in any other country last year, according to a global study that revealed a wave of company-oriented reforms across the Middle East. The World Bank rankings, which took at business regulations, also showed that the pace of business reforms in Eastern Europe was overtaking East Asia. At its simplest form, artificial intelligence is a field which combines computer science and robust datasets to enable problem solving. It also encompasses subfields of machine learning and deep learning, which are frequently mentioned in conjunction with artificial intelligence. Speed Post Tracking Service is provided by Speed Post India to check the status of domestic and international parcels and consignments. You can also check the current tracking status of passports delivery. We provide the most secure and fastest speed post tracking service as we do not store speed post tracking number or information with us.
The words yes and no get used in comparison to each other so often that it feels like they carry equal weight in conversation. In reality, they are not just opposite in meaning, but of entirely different magnitudes in commitment. Saying no to these people can be particularly difficult because we like them and want to support them. Not to mention, we often need their help too. Collaborating with others is an important element of life. The thought of straining the relationship outweighs the commitment of our time and energy.
However, there is an important difference between getting feedback while cooking a meal and getting feedback while building a habit. When it comes to building a habit, feedback is often delayed. It's easy to taste an ingredient or to watch bread rise in the oven.
In other words, saying no saves you time in the future. Saying yes costs you time in the future. No is a form of time credit. You retain the ability to spend your future time however you want. Yes is a form of time debt. You have to pay back your commitment at some point. How often do people ask you to do something and you just reply, "Sure thing." 3 days later, you're overwhelmed by how much is on your to-do list. We become frustrated by our obligations even though we were the ones who said yes to them in the first place. We agree to many requests not because we want to do them, but because we don't want to be seen as rude, arrogant, or unhelpful. Often, you have to consider saying no to someone you will interact with again in the future. Your coworker, your spouse, your family and friends.
The term women empowerment is all about authority, or the power embarked on women sharing indistinguishable rights. The term refers to the liberation of women from socioeconomic restraints of reliance. Women comprise around 50% of the country's population. Like a chef improving a recipe through trial and error, we often improve our habits through trial and error. If one approach doesn't deliver the desired effect, then we adjust, like a chef tweaking the amount of an ingredient. This is not to say you should never attend another meeting, but the truth is that we say yes to many things we don't actually want to do. There are many meetings held that don't need to be held. There is a lot of code written that could be deleted. This a shining example of what happens when women have access to capital, the money they need to build and expand their businesses, and yet Ye and Kadi heard a lot of no's as they worked to grow a successful enterprise. Often, it was because of their gender. Collaboration is key to creating a safe and beneficial AI landscape. The forum seeks to work closely with policymakers, academics, civil society, and other companies to align their efforts and address the multifaceted challenges posed by AI development.
It's impossible to remember to ask yourself these questions each time you face a decision, but it's still a useful exercise to revisit from time to time. Saying no can be difficult, but it is often easier than the alternative. As writer Mike Dariano has pointed out, it's easier to avoid commitments than get out of commitments. The classic image of a lion tamer is one of the entertainer holding a whip and a chair. The whip gets all of the attention, but it's mostly for show. In reality, it's the chair that does the important work. This is not to say you should never attend another meeting, but the truth is that we say yes to many things we don't actually want to do. There are many meetings held that don't need to be held. There is a lot of code written that could be deleted. To say education is important is an understatement. Education is a weapon to improve one's life. It is probably the most important tool to change one's life. Education for a child begins at home. It is a lifelong process that ends with death. This is especially true in health, fitness, and medicine, where every person and company seems to believe it is their duty to make things more complex. Every workout routine you find is the best one. Every diet expert says their plan is the optimal one. An article is a written work published in a print, electronic medium. It may be for the purpose of delivering news, researching results, academic analysis, or debate. Usually, an article is a piece of writing that is published in a newspaper or magazine. Looking at the age when a man led a life like a savage, we notice how far we have come. Similarly, the evolution of mankind is truly commendable. One of the major driving forces behind this is science. From going to offices, grocery shops, supermarkets, hospitals and so on, our dependence on transportation has become inevitable. It has for sure reduced the time of travel but has increased the rate of accidents.